All right, welcome to the third of 3 installments of how to recruit teams with Marty Meyer. It'd be kind of fun that on the video I could like have Marty's thing light up and stuff like that. Be pretty cool. Maybe Zoom will add that tech. There it is. There it is. That's the effect we needed. Yeah, it's been a great week. We started on Monday. We had a session on marketing and about communication. Getting the message out there. Tuesday, we followed that up with, well, what is the message? And, speaking from our core values. And so that brings us to today, which is about mastery. And our explanatory word for that is about confidence. And I'm not even sure where Marty's going to go with this. But when he introduced that on Monday, when he gave us the 3 M's and the 3 C's, and I saw confidence on there, I actually got kind of excited because I feel like what prevents a lot of us from really going for it and making those connections and communications with teams and team leaders is we lack confidence. It's a little bit like evangelism itself, right? We're evangelizing about our ministry, and the fear of rejection is real. Oftentimes the gap between who I think I am and who I imagine that pastor or that youth worker to be is that here I am, I'm a little grasshopper, and they're this great big giant of faith, and I'm trying to convince them to bring their students to my ministry. And I'm trying to convince them to spend maybe $15,000 to bring their students to go on an outreach. And so it seems like that gap is so big. And I just love that today's session is about confidence. So I'm going to turn it right over to Marty. Marty, I don't know if you want to have people, give you a little bit of a update from their thoughts on Tuesday or homework stuff, but I want to give you the maximum amount of time today because I'm really excited about our time together. So take it away, Mr. Meyer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I am excited about this time, and we need to maximize our time. Oh, look, we got started at 10:03. So, man, we're like zooming. I will have to leave in an hour because my wife Kelly has another call that she's hosting a ministry with Dave G. So we are going to hit the ground running. I will be asking, but I think I'll save this for just a moment. I'm going to be asking about what kind of progress we made since Monday and Tuesday. So I'm going to just ask you right now, raise your hand if you made a phone call. Okay. Even one phone call. All right, a couple people did. Anybody send a marketing email of any kind, or you reached out? Oh yeah, nice. Did anybody think about or plan for an event? Oh yeah, awesome. Okay, we're gonna hear about those things. There was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Which one am I missing? A visit. Did anybody make a visit? Yeah, Kevin. Woo! Wait, are you on a grand slam here? Did you get the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Oh, close. Okay, awesome. What? Wait, I was all set to give some books away.
Well, I did all of them. I just didn't do the whole thing because I only have Facebook and I couldn't make another visit.
Oh, you couldn't do a social post?
I only have Facebook. So I could only do
that counts.
But there was 3 posts.
Oh. You could have made 3 posts on Facebook.
I could have, yeah.
Wait, if you're that close, I think I'll send you the free gift anyway. So that's awesome. Yeah, yay, Kevin, good job. Of course, Sharon might surprise us. She might just jump on here and just say, I hit it out of the park, recruited 10 teams since yesterday. Anyway, I want to jump into this and what are we talking about with mastering? So we talked about marketing, our communication, as Craig reviewed. We talked about our message, and now we're going to be talking about mastering. What does it mean to be a Master Missions Mobilizer? There's my triple M again, a Master Missions Mobilizer. What does that mean? And I want us to think for a moment, what would it mean if you were a master mechanic? What if you were a master plumber? What if you were a master electrician? And those are actual titles, right? Well, what about us? I mean, couldn't we aspire to be a master mission mobilizer? And what would that actually mean? What would that look like if you were a master mission mobilizer? Well, borrowing from this idea that one can become a master mechanic or anything like that, I've got 4 areas that we would need to demonstrate in order to be a master mission mobilizer. The first is knowledge. I mean, if you're a master mechanic, there is a basic level of knowledge that you're going to need to know about the vehicles you're getting mastered in. Plumbing, you're going to have to know the difference between PVC and copper pipe, right? I mean, just there's basic knowledge that you have to gain in order to be a master mission mobilizer. One of the things I love to do is I can quote from memory all of the places, the 4 gospels where the Great Commission is from. I love doing this, and it's in my DNA. And besides, you can throw in Acts 1:8 for free. And there's 5 key Great Commission scriptures besides just Matthew 28. And that's basic knowledge. If I'm going to be a master mission mobilizer, I need to know what I'm talking about. There has to be some basic proficiency when it comes to knowledge. One of the things, and I can't help but to give a shameless commercial for Missions Frontiers. I think that every YWAMer should subscribe to Mission Frontiers and read it cover to cover when this quarterly journal comes out. This is probably it's probably the best missions journal that you could acquire. It's the best one out there, in my opinion. And it informs us, it takes the temperature about what is the state of the Great Commission, what's going on in our world today. You know that there are multiple organizations focused around the year 2033. Raise your hand if you know about this. 2033 is a major date in mobilizing push. Any hands? Okay, so what's going on here? And we're talking about major missions or setting goals for 2033. Why? It's the anniversary, the 2000-year anniversary of Jesus's resurrection. Now, no one knows exactly the date, or the dating might be off a little bit, but mission organizations have come together and say, we're setting goals around this. What a great gift to give to the King on the 2000-year anniversary of his resurrection. And more importantly, well, not more importantly, but going along with the theme, the 2000-year anniversary of the Great Commission. Wouldn't it be great to get this job done for the King of Kings? And so there's a lot of organizations looking at translating the Bible into every language by the year 2033. And that's not that far away from us right now. And so those kinds of things that we're able to express this, we're able to have enthusiasm because there's knowledge about what's happening in the world today. How many unreached people groups are there, for goodness sakes? Those kinds of things. So number 2, if you're going to be a master mission mobilizer, you need basic proficiencies. So this means you can make a phone call. You can actually give a message at a church on missions. I mean, wouldn't this be a worthwhile endeavor to prepare yourself to be able, whether you're speaking for a youth group or a church or any kind of venue, if someone says, hey, can you give a message on missions? You're like, absolutely, I will be there without hesitation. It's already in the locked and loaded. So there's basic proficiencies. We're going to overcome that call reluctance because we realize, okay, I practice, I can do this, I can just pick up the phone, I don't have to rehearse this, I don't have to like have a bunch of notes, I know what's in my heart, I know this is a worthwhile thing. And so that's what we mean by proficiency. If you were a master electrician, you have to perform certain proficiencies in order to gain that status, if you will. And likewise, this is such a valuable thing that we're doing. So basic knowledge, basic proficiencies. But you know what? If you had all of the knowledge and all of the proficiency, they still wouldn't let you be a master electrician without experience. So you have to know all the stuff. You have to be able to demonstrate it, but you still have to have a length of time where you're apprenticing. You've got to have experience. And so likewise, I mean, I love it. Some of you said, I don't know why, but I just got pushed into this, or I took this on. That's awesome. You're going to gain so much experience in this next year, these next 2 years. And gosh, Craig and I have been going on this for a long time, and there's a level of experience that comes. I want to add this. You know, we join YWAM. Some of us join YWAM, we do a DTS, we go on outreach. And I know there's some people that after their DTS, they don't go to the field. They don't go on an outreach. And I try to plan to get to our target area at least once a year. I go to India usually every year. I realize the last couple of years has gotten messed up a little bit. But I try to get on the field. Why? Because it connects my heart with the Great Commission in a different way. I'm able to tell fresh stories of faith of, you know, I went to Nepal last year and this is what happened. And so we're able to share out of that zeal, out of that experience that we have. And so we need to keep that fresh and we need to keep it alive. And so we have ongoing missionary experiences. Likewise, as we're talking about mission adventures specifically, I led an outreach. I went on outreaches, even this past summer. And I'm able to say, man, when I'm going to launch into just a quick story. Do any of you guys do a treasure hunt when you take the kids out evangelizing? Basically, it's like you get the color, you know, you take them through this process, and Isaac's really good at leading this, and you take them through this process of, okay, what's the color of someone's shirt, or what is someone's name, or that sort of thing. And one of the youth leaders, Joe, from the Baptist church, like this is not a normal thing that they do, right? A treasure hunt, and we're going to ask Jesus to tell us who to talk to. This is not a normal thing. And Joe told me later, as soon as Isaac explained this process, he's like, I got excited about it. I was like, I wonder if Jesus is going to talk to me about this. And so he got a name, Jennifer. He got white tank top, cut off shorts, flip-flops. And as we're walking through to the park, because we're going to go to the park to do evangelism, he got the word, you're going to meet her on the way to the park. So, I mean, talk about all of these qualifications of one person meeting all of those qualifications, and someone that's never done this before. He's like, well, I'm excited. We'll see if we'll meet Jennifer. And so they're just about, I mean, we're almost to the park. We're across the street from the park. This gal with a white tank top, cut off jeans, flip-flops, walks across the street. And there's Joe, the youth pastor. A couple of the students are with him. And he goes, excuse me, are you Jennifer? and she I was like, yes, why? You know, and it's like, he explains how Jesus said, I'm supposed to talk to you. And it was just like, it knocked it out of the park. But not only that, here's all these other students going, okay, game on. I'm going to find the person on my list. Now, that's just a simple story. I'm so excited that this youth pastor had that experience doing a treasure hunt. Now, I wouldn't have that story to tell if I wasn't with them doing it. If I didn't know them personally. It's a little different to say, oh yeah, our team went off and they did this and I heard back about, no, I was there. I got to see it. And not only that, there was 4 of the students that found people by name that night. Literally, they got a name of a person on their treasure hunt list, and they found that person and they shared Jesus with that person. Hey there. So that's what I'm talking about, experience. And when you are gaining fresh experiences, and you can use experiences about how did Jesus change your life on a mission trip, and you think about those things and you have them ready to share anytime, anywhere, with anyone. So we have, what does it take to be a master mission mobilizer? We're going to need knowledge, we're going to need proficiency, we're going to need experience, and then finally the ability to teach others. So the part about being a master electrician is that then you can take on an apprentice. You can actually begin to mentor others. And isn't that what all of us really should be aspiring to? Is that we're going to not only have this for ourselves, but we're going to be able to teach others. This is the core. This is how you mobilize people into missions. Now, obviously, this is a passion for me. And I began to share a story, I think the first session about my trip in 1989. I went around the world with YWAM. Los Angeles trained us and sent us out. It was a 2-week training and a 3-month outreach. It was kind of a precursor to Mission Adventures. And I got launched out. I was so excited. I want to become a field missionary. I told Jesus, I'll spend the rest of my life on the mission field. Just say the word. And each place I went to, I was looking for, well, do you want me to go here, Lord? To Germany or France. And I got to India, and the Lord broke my heart in India for lost peoples. And I said, you want me to spend the rest of my life in India? And the Lord sent me on to the next place was Thailand. And here I was worshiping the Lord with these new Thai believers. And I had almost like a vision. It was like I saw myself back at my home church, and I was mobilizing students to do mission trips. I was teaching my congregation how to do evangelism. And it was like I'm picturing this. And as I'm picturing it, the Lord just spoke very clearly. If you will be faithful to stay, many will be faithful to go in your place. And very clearly, I understood this as a call to missions mobilization. Now, I'm looking at us. There's a lot of young people with a lot of life in front of you. And God may call you to the mission field. He might call you to Azerbaijan or Pakistan or someplace in the Himalayan regions of North India, living among an unreached people group. That might be you. But if it's not you, if God has called you to stay in your home culture, perhaps it would be a worthwhile endeavor to spend the rest of your life mobilizing missionaries that'll take the gospel to those that have never heard. So this is a passion that drives me. It gives me confidence because I know that when students come to Mission Adventures, they're going to be influenced for the Great Commission. That's part of our program. That's part of the development. I remember one year we were so focused on this is that we were praying for a different unreached people group in a different country or region. Every one of the session times we had a prayer focus, and each one of those prayer focuses was on an unreached people group in a different country. And one of the youth pastors kind of called me on it, said, I appreciate the fact that you're teaching us our students how to pray, how to intercede, but we're actually not going to any of these places. Maybe we should pray for one of the places that we're going. He kind of called me on it, and I tried to explain our rationale. But what I want to do is influence these students that they begin to get a heart for people that have never heard the gospel before, that they might even get called to go and be a missionary to those who have never heard. And so that's part of certainly my ethos that I'm operating from, but it gives me a confidence. I'm doing something bigger here than running a mission adventures program. Now, that is of vital importance, but there's something bigger going on, and it's the completion of the Great Commission so that every tribe and language is heard. And so according to Matthew 24:14, that Jesus can return to his bride for his bride, because he's not going to do that until we have finished the task of completing the Great Commission, taking the gospel to every people in every language. Something bigger is going on. I think that this is a worthy endeavor that we should aspire to become Master Mission Mobilizers, because the Lamb of God is worthy. He's worthy of the full reward of the sacrifice that he paid on the cross. And that's what we're about. So as Craig started out saying, it seems like there's a big gap between where we're at and where youth pastors at. We can narrow that gap because of the passion that we have for the Great Commission and to mobilize people into missions. I'm also going to see it as a win if I'm talking to youth pastor and he's like, Idaho's too far. I'm not going to go and do this. And I'm going to say, you know what? You're totally right. Yosemite is a lot closer to you than I am. Why don't you connect with YWAM Yosemite, and they've got amazing outreach in the park, and you can involve your students. I see that as a total win. I've done that again and again and again, as I've connected a potential youth leader to a different program other than mine. You know why that's a win? It's like, well, one, Jesus can work this out and he can bless our program. That's not a big deal. But the main thing is, there's going to be a group of students going and having a life-changing mission experience. And that's more important even than them coming to my base and having another group, come through our program. So it's a priority, and mobilization is a worthy endeavor. And if you're not called to be a full-time missionary, then becoming a Master Missions Mobilizer is a worthwhile thing to prepare towards and practice towards. So I've got some other things planned for today, but I want to talk and debrief just a little bit and hear from you. I gave you a challenge to make 5 phone calls, 4 emails, 3 posts, 2 visits, and to schedule 1 event. So we're going to talk about those things, whether you made those numbers. I saw a lot of people did make a phone call. And so I want to actually hear from you. If you made a phone call, how did it go? What happened? What went well? And what did you learn from that experience? Who wants to go?
I guess I can go first. The phone call, one of them, I guess I learned through all of them is like, even if they don't come, I just wanted to let them know, hey, there's a resource here available for you, for your youth group, for your students. I know you might have other plans, like Dave said, like we have other plans maybe, but we'll pray about it. I was like, just pray about it. And I just wanted to let you know that there's a resource out here if you need it and if you want it and be part of it. So that's one big thing.
So in that conversation, was the person interested? Was there, you had this conversation? It doesn't sound like they just said, okay, sign me up right now. But what did you learn from the experience about, did you feel like you were able to share your message?
Yeah, for sure. And he said that he was he got me some dates that maybe could work in March. And so I'm going to continue praying. He's going to continue praying. And so we'll see if he comes in March.
Awesome. Okay, what about anyone else make a phone call? How it went, what you learned from the experience?
I made a phone call.
Yeah, go for it.
It was to a group that actually has come down before, because we have lots of groups that come down before, but since COVID, like they haven't had the chance to re-sign up. And they're actually wanting to bring like an adult group down, and they're like, will that work with your program? Like, we know like it's more aimed towards like younger people, but you know, if you don't have a team signed up and you're willing to like take us on, like my husband and I can maybe do like a adult retreat, because they did their DTS here, the couple leading. And maybe you guys could help us with worship, because we would really like that. We really like the dynamic you guys give in the worship. And so they're planning on coming in June.
Wonderful. And you know, this is part of that about making accommodations. I think sometimes we get into our strict mission adventure box because we think that is our only product, that's Mission Adventures is our product, but we're actually mobilizing people into missions is a bigger product that we're actually marketing towards. You know, I was sharing with you about a youth pastor that just signed up for next summer, and then he responded right away, and he said, you know, it's going to be really hard for both my wife and I to come because we got two kids, 9 and 5 years old. Is there any way that we could bring our kids on this mission program? And it's like, heck yeah, they're gonna have an awesome time. You know, it was just like straight away, it was just like, yes, of course. And I've seen children you know, get so much out of this program as well. And so I think that your kids are going to be blessed. Absolutely, go ahead and bring. So it's just this idea of like, how accommodating can we be in this process? I think I mentioned I had had a mom call me, and she said, can my son come to your Mission Adventures program? And it was taking place next week. I mean, it was literally like just days away. And I was like, yeah, you know, I know the group that's coming. I know the youth leader. It's like, we're going to be able to accommodate this guy. And then the next day it's like, oh, can his sister come too? You know, it's like, absolutely. And so here's 2 individuals, and they had an amazing time. Their lives were changed. I mean, it was just like fantastic. But it was like this accommodation. Yeah, it wasn't really a group. That's not really how we're running this. But I saw 2 lives that were changed because we were willing to accommodate them and see the bigger picture that we're all about influencing people for the Great Commission. Okay, anybody else want to share about a phone call? I saw a couple hands. McKaylee, did you say you made a phone call?
No, I didn't make a phone call for MA. It was for something else.
Was it for missions mobilization?
Well, it's for my mobilization of missions.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. That's important too. But you know what? Some of those same lessons probably are, did you have to overcome any call reluctance to get yourself?
I psych myself up. But I'm selling Jesus. Marty says I'm selling Jesus. We got this. Yeah.
That's so good. And I realize I'm addressing this, you know, in a number of different ways, but that call reluctance is a real thing. You know, I write it on my yellow pad, and I say, okay, call this person. I actually wrote a name down today to call. And, you know, even though I've been doing this years and years, it's still like, maybe, I mean, there's other things that I'll do that require less energy or less emotion than doing this, because I'll just kind of like, and so I even think of when is the very best time of the day for me to do this, and I'll schedule it. Marty, you don't get to do anything else between 9 and 10 o'clock because you are at your revved up and at your prime, and so you're gonna get out that list of 30 names and you're going to make phone calls, and you don't get to check email or do any of this other stuff. You're just going to make phone calls. And that's just one of the ways of like holding your own feet to the fire and overcoming that reluctance, because those are the activities that are going to be most fruitful and productive. Some of you, like I think Craig mentioned, you build a website with kind of this idea, if you build it, they will come, and you build the website and you put it out there as if that's going to do all the marketing for you. And some of us would be way more comfortable spending 30 hours making a video, or 20 hours doing a website, or there's all these other activities that are important. But when it hits the road, like making a phone call and saying, hey, I've got something I want to share with you. Can I come by your office later? Can we schedule an appointment? Going back to that visit, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, going back to that visit is so important. I think if you can do that, it is the most productive thing, because they're going to see your passion for the Great Commission kind of stuff. Okay, what about emails? A couple people said, yeah, I sent an email. Tell me about that. And did you have any response to it?
I sent a couple emails and I got a couple responses. One youth leader already has things lined up for this summer, but wants to chat about opportunity going forward from there. And then I reached out, I had a young life leader and just was wondering if they're still meeting for their camp. They have one they do every summer and they're still meeting, but she said if it changes, they'll let us know and they'd be interested in coming. The rest I haven't heard back from.
Mm-hmm. I want to just mention the power of longevity in this. It's like, if you can be a mission and venture director for 5 years, because some of the things, I told the story about Chewy, how God just put him on my heart, and I was like, man, I'm going to recruit Lighthouse to come to Mission Adventures next summer. And I didn't even make a personal contact. I just made phone calls and left messages and emails. And then Chewy sent me an email, said, yeah, we're coming, this next year. And so it was like putting in the work. We don't always know when we're going to see the fruit of it, but keeping a spreadsheet of like, as soon as someone says no to me, they go in the spreadsheet for potentials for next year. I did some Zoom calls back in February for this year, and they were like, man, this sounds really good, but we're in Ohio. I'm not sure if we can, make this long trip out there, whatever. Well, there's some mission adventure groups that are closer to you, but let's look at next year. Let's and some of them said, yeah, we decided to do this trip this year, but they're on the list for me to call or to Zoom with for next year. So longevity is so important. And then obviously you've got to be able to be organized enough so that you remember, oh, I made this Zoom call, and just a little note, Zoom call, this date, couple notes, and then it's going to blow that person away if you say, hey, the last time we talked, this is some of the things you were really interested in, and let's talk about this upcoming year. And so those kind of things where longevity just plays a huge part in this. What about visits? Did I have any hand on visits? I don't think I saw anyone make a visit. Yes. Okay, go for it, Kevin.
Yeah, we made so me and Melissa went to this, it's called Cross Hill Christian School. It's a church that's a school attached to it nearby. And she actually emailed us about a few weeks ago, wanting to bring 100 students just for a half day. Roommates here with, sorry about that. Yeah, so thank you. Train of thought. Yes. So we went out to her because she wants to bring 100 students for a half day in October, and so we went to meet about that. But then she also but then we also said like, hey, would you be interested in bringing some of these students to Mission Adventure season next year? And she's like, yeah, we're actually already planning on it. We're not sure if we're gonna go to Oregon, like state to do Oregon this year because of COVID, or if they're gonna go out to Ensenada. So they might do two trips, one in Ensenada, one to Mexico, or one to Mexico, one to here. But yeah, so it went really well.
So what was different about that, about talking to that person face to face than just a phone call?
It's I guess your passion shows a little more, like they can see your faces, like I can see their face, and like it's a more of a, I don't know how the word, organic meeting, like a more just, yeah, it's more organic, I guess.
Mm-hmm. If I call someone, I kind of have this sense of, there's a difference between a scheduled call and an unscheduled call. If I'm calling someone, I kind of feel like, and it's not scheduled, I feel like I've got 5 minutes to kind of make my case, and maybe I can stretch it out to 10 minutes. If I schedule a call and I say, hey, Chewy, I really want to talk to you today about Mission Adventures, or is there a time this week that will work? If he schedules a call with me, I'm going to feel like I've got 30 minutes with him. If I say, hey, would it be possible to schedule a meeting? We might have an hour to talk about that, and that I can go in more detail. This is what our training looks like. This is why this is so important. This is what we're actually doing on outreach. And I'm going to incorporate, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened when Tate got on fire to share the gospel. It's just so amazing to watch this kid. And so you can let it unfold a little bit more. And that's why that the visit, you can really, it's just so productive, and they see your heart, and you have actually more time in a visit than anything else. Okay, we kind of jumped over email, but did anyone else have something about an email that they sent, and if they got any response from it? Okay, I'm going to share briefly about an email that I sent, actually about 45 personal emails. I sent to each person that came to Mission Adventures this last year and filled out an interest card. And so that was something that we did during our Mission Adventures program. And I actually sent a personal email to each one of them. And part of that was that I offered a scholarship to attend one of our DTSs. So this was actually recruitment for our DTS rather than for Mission Adventures, and it was directed at the student rather than at the youth leader. But I also put in there a little tag, hey, I'm really excited to see you next year. Which, if I've got some students going to the youth pastors and saying, hey, we want to go back to YWAM, Idaho again and do that Mission Adventures thing again, are you planning on that? If I've got a bunch of youth pastors that are hearing that from their student, that's good. But I sent out, I think, 45 emails, and I got so far 3 personal responses. Now, I kind of was expecting a few more than that, but I don't think it felt quite as personal. I think it's one of those emails that I pasted in quite a bit of text, so they got the idea that they probably weren't the only one getting this email, but they got a lot of information, and I've got some people that I'm going to call personally in follow up to that email sent. And so again, that's a great strategy. Send out 30 emails, but make sure that you follow those with a phone call. Okay, let me talk just a little bit about events. Did some people schedule an event, or you had an idea of? Yeah, go ahead, Molly.
I am actually close friends with one of the youth pastors in our community, and their group was the only group that came to our Missions Adventures this year. And so I'm also a youth leader at their church, and so there was like I see them like twice a week. And we had a student leader meeting, and I was just like, hey, do you have like a youth pastor meetup in our town? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, can I come? And he's like, what? And I was like, can I come? And then he like got the gist. He was like, oh wait, Missions Adventures. And then yeah, so I'm planning on meeting with like a big group of youth pastors in our town.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I was talking about. This is gold. It's gold for a number of reasons. It's based out of relationship. There's a relationship that you have with this particular youth pastor. When you do this, you don't even have to tell them in advance, but it's like, now, by the way, didn't you come to Mission Ventures last year? Did it have a positive impact on your students? Are you kidding me? It was amazing. You guys have to listen to what Molly has to say, because this is going to change your students' lives. So yeah, that is golden for so many reasons. I have a hard time convincing people to do this. For some reason, it just seems like out of the comfort zone. But if you can do that and parlay a relationship into a meeting with a group of youth pastors, all the better. By the way, if it doesn't have to be in your hometown, this is worth an airline ticket for. So if you have a youth group that came last year and you developed a close personal friendship with that youth leader, you could say, is there any way that you could gather together 10 youth pastors from 10 different churches? Oh yeah, we meet anyway. I would love to come. Now, there's a value statement when you say, I'm going to drive, or 10 hours, or I'm going to fly. I'm going to book a flight. There's a value statement. This person is coming to talk about a program that they believe in. That is totally worth the cost of an airline ticket. In fact, Southwest or whatever, they practically give those tickets away, it seems like. So it's not that big of an overlay. It's like, when we went to youth specialties, and again, I think it's great to go to the events like youth specialties and talk to a couple hundred, or more youth pastors during that event. I still think that's worthwhile. But if I could go and speak to 10 youth pastors, and I've been personally endorsed by this other youth leader that knows me, that's money well spent. Okay. And it's a fraction of the cost of renting a booth and having that flight and everything to speak to 200. Now, I've got one thing to say about youth specialties or those kinds of events. You have the opportunity to gather contacts and speak to a whole bunch of youth leaders. We did that. Isaac and I and two other leaders, Sean and Gavin, came. And we went to St. Louis and we set up a booth and we talked to all these youth pastors. It's awesome. It's great. Now, one thing that I always tell Mission Adventure leaders, yeah, it's great if, and this is the big if you personally call every contact, which is just, almost overwhelming. It's like, I got a list of 200 people. It's like, and there's an expiration date, because if you call them the next week, they'll go, oh yeah, I remember talking to you. If you call them 2 or 3, what, why, what? And, that's an issue where it's valuable to drop a couple $1,000s to go to one of these events, but only, in fact, I'd say it so strongly, please don't go if you're not going to personally follow up with these people. Just don't. It's going to be a waste of money if you don't personally follow up with these people afterwards. We always say, well, if you get one group out of the deal and they bring 30 students, it's worthwhile. Yeah, and that might happen, but it probably won't happen if you don't personally follow up with them. And there again is the call reluctance, and overcoming that with the confidence, because you're a Master Mission Mobilizer, you know that you have the knowledge, you have the proficiency, you have the experience. In fact, heck, you can teach others how to do this, and you're going to follow up with every one of those that you visit. Okay, I've got something else I wanted to talk to you about, and Craig kind of set this up. And we've been talking kind of about what's valuable to us, right? And that's that personal passion that's going to give me the confidence to pick up the phone. But let me ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you to put this in the chat bar. What is important to that youth pastor? So I've been talking about what's important to me, which is the Great Commission, evangelization of every people group on the planet. And that motivates me. But let me ask you this question and type it into the chat bar. What is important to that youth pastor? What's going to inspire them? What's going to get them excited? It might be missions, but more likely there's something else going on here. Go ahead and type that in. What is that person excited about? What's important to them? What's going to touch on their key values? His city, his youth. Awesome. The growth of their students in Christ. Absolutely. That his youth are coming and meeting or having an experience with Jesus. Absolutely. The personal and spiritual growth of their students. Absolutely. Did everyone respond? Seeing life change and growth in their students with practical application. Absolutely. So I sometimes have, I'm talking to a youth pastor, and I've heard comments like, yeah, we're not really into missions. I don't know if you ever get this. It's like, yeah, we're not into missions. I've had guys say, we don't really believe in evangelism. I mean, really, it's just not our thing. I'm happy for you, but it's not our thing. Now, when I hear those things, I'm kind of moving a little bit into influencing, because I do want to influence them. But I don't want to appear like I'm sounding like I'm endorsing a bait and switch technique. However, I know that every single student's life is going to be impacted. Why? Because they're going to hear the word of God, and they're going to have an opportunity to put it into practice. I don't know if very few students make it through mission adventures without being impacted in a significant way. And so if evangelism isn't their thing, I'm going to talk about, man, what we see happen around, I might say, I'm going to tell you one of the things that we do, but don't tell your students if you end up coming. And I'll talk about the passion play, or the commitment service, or some of these other elements that really seem like they're powerful and impactful. Or I'll tell a testimony about just the lives coming, lighting up for the first time in Christ. And so seeing life change and growth in their youth and their students with practical application. That's so important. So we've got talking points, obviously things that we're passionate about, but as you listen to that youth leader, and this is where asking questions comes in. Craig was kind of giving us a mini seminar about asking questions. It's so important that we ask the questions. It's like, well, what are some of your goals? Sometimes youth groups have a theme for the year or something like that. Ask them those kind of questions. What are some of your goals? What do you want to see happen in the lives of these students? And then you can go, oh man, well, if you have that as a goal, let me tell you about what we're experiencing in the lives that come through our Mission Adventures program. So we're touching on that which is important to them. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about, because we already made the parallel that mobilizing for mission ventures is a little bit similar to evangelism. So that we have to overcome this reluctance. We have to, as McKaylee said, we got to psych ourselves up. What about overcoming objections? If you're doing evangelism, you've heard all of these objections before. It's like, well, yeah, but isn't there a lot of hypocrites in church? Or why did Jesus actually have to die on the cross? And what did that mean for me? Those are, if you've ever done evangelism, those are things that you've heard before, and they're objections, and you have got to have some proficiency at responding to objections. And so I'm going to give you a couple objections that I hear fairly regularly, and I'm going to let you just chime in. You can hit the unmute button, and you can act like I'm the youth pastor, and you can just tell me. You can just share with me. This is how we're overcoming some of these objections. So, I hear what you're saying about mission adventures, and it sounds really good. It's just that my students aren't ready for something like this. Unless I get convinced by one of you, I'm not coming to mission ventures. My kids they're not ready.
If I'm honest, I wasn't ready when I was a part of when I did mission adventures, but it was the fact of actually doing it, and because the Bible says do hear and then do, I can't remember the specific verse, but don't just be hearers of the word, but actually do. And so actually doing it and being a part of it is stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping out of their comfort zone, your students, and actually growing in areas that they maybe they've never done this before, and that's okay.
Wow. So Kevin, you actually came to Mission Ventures as a student?
Not as a student, but as staff, and I've also seen many students who have never done this before. Most of them have never done any of this before, and the growth from the beginning of the week to the end of the week is amazing, because they're stepping out of their comfort zone and they're becoming doers and not just hearers.
Wow. So you're saying they don't have to be spiritual giants before they come?
No. Is that right? Is that the right? I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've got another I've got another problem. Yeah, it sounds good. But this is just too expensive. I mean, you're saying I have to spend how much? $450, $600 per student? Well, that seems like a lot to me. Yeah, I'm probably not going to come unless you convince me otherwise.
Yeah, Marty, I hear what you're saying, and I see that problem. It happens all the time, whether you're a youth student or an adult. But this is why we plan things out ahead of time, and you can pay in increments. And I actually have some files and things and fundraisers that you guys could do in your local church. You could do as just some students through their high school. We can get you connected with our base accounting to see what would work best for you. Sometimes, we can have you pay later. We just had a group last year who some students forgot to pay when they showed up. And so our accounting just said, we'll figure it out once they're done. So the student was stress-free. They didn't have to worry about money. And then we figured it all out after camp, and they had life-changing growth.
Wow. Anyone else want to give that a shot? A shot? It's just too expensive. Somebody else. A different line of thought.
Also,
No, that was good. No, it was good. I'm just saying, is there anybody else that wants to give a crack at it?
I also want to add, the money that you are investing is worth your while, because stuff will happen. Your students will grow, and it's worth it.
Okay, anybody else?
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, Marty, I understand what you're saying. That is definitely a hurdle, especially for students or groups coming from low income. But I will tell you that if this is something you're considering, we don't want money to be an issue. We will pray alongside of you. We will help you raise those funds and get the students here. Because when you invest in something like this, when you invest in the relationship of these students with Christ, it is worth all of that money. And for me personally, the more I invest in that, the more I see Jesus bringing funds in different ways. I know that's not a practical way to give you the money, but from what I've seen, like as a YWAM staff, I have to raise my own funds just to pay for groceries, and God makes it happen down to the last cent. So I'd love to chat with you about how we make that work for our family and how we can make that work for your students.
Wow. So I understand you raise support, but do you ever have mission mentor students raise support? I mean, this is just a short-term mission trip.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely do and talk with your church about how to make that possible. As someone who's working in missions, we know that not everyone can go, but everyone is called to be a part of the sending of missionaries. And sometimes that is through giving. So maybe there are even people in your church that you don't know about who want to give to missions, who want to equip young people to fulfill this commission.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I've got one more, and this is one that I've actually heard last year and we had to overcome with a certain group. I'm hearing what you're saying about mission mentors. It sounds pretty good, but it sounds like you really talk a lot about evangelism. My kids, I'll just be honest. My kids are not going to do evangelism. They're just not going to do it. So, this sounds like a good program, but no, I don't think we can do this. I mean, evangelism, really? My kids? You realize we're Presbyterian, right? You did when I called, right? You did understand that. Okay.
I'll go. Mute yourself. Marty, you'd be surprised how many times I've actually heard that. We have youth leaders and groups that have come in with that same mindset or attitude before. And, it's not a reason to not come, but I will tell you that every group that's told me that has seen a 180 in the attitude after leaving camp.
Really?
Yes, those groups have come, and the youth pastor was under the expectation that the students wouldn't be capable or able to do evangelism and what we've trained them to do. But this is the key part. We train them, and then number 2, we show them. Number 3, we go with them. So inside of those 3 steps, we are helping students to break out of comfort zones and go and share their faith with other people. And so I hear you, but I'm telling you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your students are more than capable to share their faith. In fact, I've seen it happen over and over.
So my kids will be able to.
Your kids will be able to, maybe even you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There was one group we had one time is that we had to get the students and the leaders saved first before they could go out and do evangelism. I'm not making light of this, that the majority of the students and even the leaders, it did not appear that they were born again. And a number of them got born again and they did evangelism for the first time. That's a pretty steep growth curve, isn't it? Isn't that cool? Well, I did mention that I've got to be off this call. I am so sorry, you guys. I was going to do some Q&A. I think my wife's got to do her thing. So I'm going to have to just turn this over to Craig unless I've got time for one quick question.
Yes, what question do you have for Marty? He does have to go, but he is making some extra time here, so go for it.
Okay, this has been fantastic, you guys. I'm so proud of you. I believe that you're well on your way to becoming Master Mission Mobilizers, and I'm praying for you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Craig, and if you want to take a little time just to do some debriefing together, I think that's awesome. Thank you for the privilege and the honor to be able to speak into your lives at this time. God bless you.
Thank you,
so much.
Marty.
Okay, well, God bless Kelly as she heads off to Zoom to work with Dave Gustavson on some cool project. But like the other days, I'm here for the duration. Let me know, or I can spend the next 15, 20 minutes, with you. We can go over questions, thoughts, comments, and that kind of thing. I think it would be helpful for you to just kind of take a moment and kind of process. What are you going to take from this session into your recruiting? What did you hear from Marty? What's something that is going to be a part of you moving forward?
I think the biggest thing for me is taking advantage of the fall quarter, because that's like the quarter that we don't have groups, and so taking advantage of that time to reach out, to make phone calls, to actually I can't remember, Molly, like actually go to the youth pastors what's it called, meetings, or like looking, like researching like different youth conventions or different youth events, and like just really take advantage of every opportunity to go and recruit wherever that is. Yeah, that was really, really big for me.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. What else are you going to take with you?
I think for me, one of my big stumbling blocks is making phone calls. And so overcoming like that reluctance and like he said, like putting your feet to the fire and just make those phone calls, like even in like our family personal support raising.
Yes. The scripture, you have not because you ask not, is so true in recruiting teams and raising support. And like Nike says, just do it. Like Marty says, hold your own feet to the fire. He's saying even Marty Meyer is reluctant to make phone calls. So he says, from this hour to this hour, I'm going to do phone calls. I'm going to focus on that. I've written it down, and I'm going to go through that checklist and make those phone calls. I'm going to make 30 calls. And, so just the focusing on that and getting through it. And what's kind of amazing is, I don't know about you, what I'm afraid of is that it's going to be awkward. And you may have been detecting, as you've gotten to know me a little bit, that I can be a little bit goofy, a little bit awkward. And so I kind of feel like my middle name is awkward, and just on the other side of awkward, it can become awesome. And you can have a real legitimate conversation and connection with someone who you might be in partnership in ministry. This isn't simply sales, where you're just trying to sell a widget. You're offering an incredible experience where together with this church, you will advance the gospel. Everyone will participate in the Great Commission. So overcome that call reluctance. It is a real thing. Let's acknowledge it. Let's recognize that it's awkward, but let's walk through awkward, because on the other side, it's awesome. What else? What are you going to take away?
I think this has been pretty integral for our base, as like I'm starting from ground one or ground zero kind of thing. Knowing like my next step, because this week, though, like I was in these Zoom calls, I was like, I'm actually not at this step yet. I'm one step behind.
Yeah.
But now like I'm fully equipped for like the second I have this ready, I'm ready to run. And it's been really awesome too, because this last one was talking about mobilizing, and we have a mobilizing team here at our base, and they already approached me and they're like, can we like use MA as an in to mobilize churches? So like not just going there and saying, here's like MA, here's our product, but instead be like, actually, I want to teach you how to share the gospel. Like, I want to tell you why there are unreached people groups. And there's just like this really awesome door that is just swung wide open out of nowhere, just because Marty's out here teaching how to market.
Yeah, awesome. These are great takeaways. I do want to make one, well, I could make about 15 or 23 points. But I do want to make one point. My comment about grasshoppers was intentional. How we see ourselves and thinking of what we can offer often seems so very small. When we go back to Numbers and we go back to the story of the people of God wandering through the desert, and they finally get to the Jordan, and they send in 12 spies, one from each tribe. And the spies go in and they check out the land. They find the cities, they look at the people, and they come back, and they've got grapes and milk and honey, right? And they bring this stuff back. And two of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, are, we can do it. And 10 of the spies are, they got big cities, they're actually giant people. The cities have high walls, we cannot do it. And it says that the people saw themselves as grasshoppers in comparison to the people of the land. And so they didn't go up into the land. In fact, God turned them around. He said, all y'all are going to die because of how you see yourselves. You're going to wander around in the desert until the end of your days. I'm not going to murder you, but you're going to wander the desert to the end of your days, and the next generation will see themselves in a way that can take this land. And so I want to change your perspective of yourself. That's what this week has been about recognizing that, yep, I am not perfect. I am not a master missions mobilizer today, but I am making steps towards that. We can take this land. So I want to encourage your faith to have Joshua and Caleb kind of faith, so that you can go up into a promised land that's filled with teens, that's filled with young people that will be learning how to do evangelism. And they'll be there because of your hard work and because of the inspiration of the Holy Spirit in their lives. And so you can do this. You are not a grasshopper. Don't think of yourself as a grasshopper, because if you do, you will never enter the land. So go where God is taking you. Okay, enough preaching, sermonizing, devotionaling, however you want to talk about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to, spend a few minutes with me, talk with each other, anything about what Marty was sharing, any question you may have that came to you after Marty had to check out? I'm here for you. What do you got?
I do have a question. I might not have just written it down, but he said there was about the Master Missions Mobilizer. He said there was 4 points, and the ones that I got were knowledge, basic proficiency in teaching, and then ability to teach others. What was the 4th point? I must have not just written it down.
It was experience.
Oh, okay. I just mixed it in with one of them. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, not sure how he broke it up, because there was also the idea of a Master Missions Mobilizer can help people overcome their objections.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be one of the points too. I'm not sure how he had it broken up in his notes, but yeah, experience, overcoming objections, basic competencies, things like I can make a phone call, things like I can, at any given moment, share, have a message on missions. I don't know, did I miss one? I think I did. Yeah. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
Craig, I have a quick question in regards to like our base. We recruit MA staff. I don't know how other bases run it.
Yeah.
Do we typically use like the same way of recruitment when recruiting staff, or do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, getting staff, that's a lot of fun. Your best place to get staff is the students that have already come. Of course, you're going to have YWAMers who are on your base helping you, but typically mission adventures can get too big for just the base staff. And so we really encourage getting volunteer staff to help you. Now, your base leadership may have opinions on that. They may have some legal obligations about that. Anytime here in the US where you've got people working directly with people who are students, under the age of 18, there's some common practices of having maybe not a full background check, but you've interviewed these people. You're not randomly getting people off the street who may or may not have emotional problems, or they're inappropriately attracted to children or something like that. You've got to do some homework there. So you'll work with your base leadership, but recruiting volunteers is very similar to recruiting teams. And so, a couple of tips are, a volunteer might say, I'm only available 3 weeks of the season. And you're saying, well, I've got 5 weeks. We've been back and forth on this. If you're desperate and you can be flexible, take them for the 3 weeks. If you've got lots of volunteers that really want to be a part of this and only so many spaces, well, tell the 3-week person to figure it out. We really want to have you. We'll make room for you, but I really need a 5-week commitment from you. If you can't do it, I understand, maybe next year. That kind of thing. We've gone back and forth on should the volunteers pay anything? We're volunteers, and most bases you will pay a staff fee. Should we have the volunteers pay a staff fee? And so we've gone back and forth on that. Sometimes back in the day we decided not to do that, and it felt like a certain percentage of the volunteers that we got were more interested in 3 hots and a cot. 3 hot meals a day and a place to sleep, and not as interested in being, active and working with teenagers. And so for us, we raised the bar. We said it's going to cost you, $500 for the summer to be a part of our team. And just like, charging the students that come, raising that $500 can be that faith journey that God really shows himself faithful and really convinces them that, yes, this is a place for me to be. When we've done that, what we've done is we made a commitment amongst ourselves as the leadership. We're going to spend that money on them. Staff get special t-shirts or special polo shirts or something like that. Staff get, caps or something so that they're easily identifiable as staff. Every week we're throwing a crazy pizza party to review the week or something like that. And at the end, we all go to the water park or whatever, and we spend all that money on the staff. And so, they feel very blessed. And then the base isn't put in a difficult financial position to have those people there, because every person you put on the base does have a cost. They eat, they use water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, we lost her. McKaylee. What happened? Oh no. Oh, we lost Kevin. Sorry. Everybody moved, and I'm like, where did you go? Yeah. So those are some. Where you get them, former students. So what happens at our mission adventures? We we do like a senior night. So if they're a senior in high school, we'll have a special meal. Sometimes it's lunch or whatever, and we'll present them opportunities. We'll have the DTS leaders there. We'll ask the youth pastors to join us so they're not surprised. And it's recruiting season. So we'll ask them, hey, you know what, next year, if you're not sure you're going to university or you feel like God is calling you, we've got a thing called DTS. Let's describe it. Additionally, if you're having a great experience here, you can be a part of creating this experience for other students next summer. So fill out this form, sign up on our list, and we will contact you, and you can join us. So you get former students, current DTSers are great. So if you've got DTS staff and your DTS can make this work, they can help you staff the program, or your winter or spring DTS that's ending in time for your mission adventures. Hey, you're not sure what's next. You're going to graduate from DTS. Well, hey, we've got 6 weeks of summer where you could serve alongside us and you'd work with teenagers, and it'd be awesome. You can kind of extend your outreach experience. That's a way to do it. Christian colleges. A lot of Christian ministry students need to do some sort of internship as part of their schooling. And so a summer internship. Now you may have to adjust some things to be able to call it an internship. They might need so many hours doing this kind of stuff and so many hours doing that kind of stuff to make it be an internship. So local Christian colleges, you can go and you can talk to, they kind of expect this kind of stuff at your local Christian college. And so you can go there and be asking, hey, can I have an opportunity to share about, what we do, and invite students to volunteer with us. So you can, make those things happen. And then again, local churches in your area, you can be looking for students to help you. We think that college age students are kind of the perfect ones to help high school and middle school students, because they're at that next phase of life, and there's a natural favor in our hearts for the people that are a little bit past us, and we really want to have them have input in our lives. So college students and things like that can be great for high school students as volunteer leaders. A key thing to remember is it'll be very unusual if a student or a pastor makes any distinction between your YWAM staff and your volunteer staff. And so these people really will, in the minds of the churches, in the teams that come, be representing the mission. So staff training is a big deal. We tend to do, at least a week of staff training, preferably 2, so where they learn not only what they do, but they learn a little bit about the mission, and they learn kind of, who we are and what we're about, so that they can represent our base in a healthy way. I could go on and on and on about staff and staff training and that kind of stuff. So I don't want to bore you. So
Thank you.
So we can continue to dialogue about that kind of stuff. There are resources on that Mission Adventures 101 page. And I think I may have in the ancient history archives, like old staff training documents, from the 90s. Some of them may be even published by Marty and Kelly Meyer. I'm not sure. Heading out, Molly. See ya. Awesome. Okay. So Lorena, do you have any questions, thoughts? McKaylee, do you have follow-up stuff? I'm here for if you want to keep going.
I actually have to go, but thank you for everything. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks for being a part of this. Looking forward to meeting your husband in whenever it is, October, I guess. Yeah. And this is my job, so feel free to contact, and we can continue the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question.
Okay.
So like for right now, because neither Sergio or I can cross the border, what would you recommend for like, pastoral visits or, like recruiting teams? Because like we could fly, but I think we'd have to go like all the way to Mexico City and then.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure. I think this is probably a conversation that you and, eldership should be having. Hey, we're in this crazy season. We have no idea to predict how teams will come back. I think focusing your efforts on phone calls and emails is probably best, is probably cost effective. I don't think that our base is in huge financial trouble any longer. Like, we navigated the pandemic well. And we had a reserve in place for these kinds of issues. So, we've survived. So there is probably money that, can be spent to get more teams. But I would coordinate with Josh and Corinne and try to work as much together on stuff, because it's just better bang for the buck. I know that there are teams that are bonded into one campus or the other, and that's just how it's going to be. But there's so many potential teams that have no idea about which campus. So working together to try to identify some more teams just makes a ton of sense. I don't know about their plans for the fall. Midsummer, they were up dropping a team off, and I had lunch with them, and they were asking questions about, what should we do a mobile team? I think this was before Delta, became kind of a thing in the news. And so I'm not sure how open churches will be to traveling missionaries coming through. But you know what? Maybe they are. And so, maybe Josh and Corinne might have more freedom to cross the border. They're, US citizens and stuff. So maybe they could represent not just Ensenada, but San Diego Baja on some of that kind of stuff. And you provide support and help for them. I don't know if Sergio's gonna, could whip up like a simple postcard, with, dates and the highlights or something like that, that they could, if Josh and Corinne do go places, that they could take with them. And, it would highlight both campuses and what's available and that kind of stuff. So that could be a way to work together, but I would reach out to them. And of course, I can be a resource to you guys too. But I think the phone calls and the emails really will be, it's probably not visits or events for you. And that might also be, just where your family's at, and that's honestly, it's okay. You can still increase your mastery in mobilizing without doing all 5, So is that helpful?
And then another question: how much do you know about? I probably have to ask Janet or another Canadian. One of our teams